pretty big new update for you today on how I'm building one-page websites with AI, or indeed just building any page I actually need. Now, what is the benefit of this? Why does this matter to you? Well, there's still a huge amount of money in web design. So whether you've got SEO clients who are building lead generation or affiliate websites, obviously it makes sense to be able to build really good sites faster and better. But if we look on the corporate side, it is still very much expected amongst most business owners I speak to that they have to spend $5,000 on a website. Let's not forget what we're building here is not just a really well designed website, but it's also SEO optimized. So if we break down the true value there, let's suppose they spent $5,000 with a web design company in order to build the website, and then they had to spend another $5,000 with an SEO company to actually get that page ranking and optimized. Now, many of you in my audience will think that's outrageous because you can do it yourself, but corporate inefficiency is a real thing. I've seen agencies charging fortunes for really basic tasks like that. That's just how that corporate machine and world works. So hopefully this will be a massive shortcut for your own success. But equally, if you're looking for some sort of new side hustle, then you can potentially deliver something that a couple of years ago would have been $10,000 in value. And you can now do it in about 10 minutes, the time of this video. So if you're looking for a new angle, I really encourage you, get on Upwork, do some outreach. Whether you're doing pure SEO or you're doing a package of web design and SEO, you can still charge a very good premium for that kind of work, but deliver it very well, very fast, and without incurring a huge amount of cost yourself. This is a massive arbitrage opportunity. A lot of corporations will be slow to pivot from spending $5,000 on a website that you can create in just a few minutes. So how would I personally do it? Well, I conduct some heavy outreach, maybe even consider some paid channels I get on YouTube, and I basically target that huge market of especially local businesses and contractors where the websites are just 10 years old. Maybe they're not necessarily built on Dreamweaver anymore, but there's still plenty of ugly websites out there that have got no consideration for web design and have got no consideration for SEO. It's basically just a basic calling card with some contact details and a Gmail address. So I try and get hold of them and basically say, we have a new proprietary process where we take your existing website and 10x it. We are basically going to deliver the equivalent of a $5,000 corporate website, but for you, it's just $500. I would use that as a tripwire to get through the door and then try to upsell them into longer digital marketing retainers. So standard SEO, Google Maps and business profile optimization, even paid ads and CRM type stuff. But it's all about getting your foot in the door, getting that trust. So I would probably even take their existing website if they're interested, produce that page because it's only going to take you 10 minutes, and then say, this is what your website could look like. All you have to do is give me $500 and I'll install it for you on your existing website. And the method we're going to be using today is not even platform dependent. As long as their website can take HTML, you can upload that homepage to their site. And of course, if they want additional pages, then you can do a special rate. Take the homepage for $500 and we'll then do your contact us, about us, all of those for $200 per page. If any of this sounds good to you, then I've got a free gift for you in the description below. I've got the full SOP on this technique. So keep watching to the end of the video because I'll walk you through the full process. But then don't forget to grab your copy of the SOP. You can use it to train your team. You can just easily refer back to it rather than watching the full video. This contains every step I'm talking about in this video, as well as an approach to actually get clients using this method as well. So two sides to it here. Use it yourself. It really accelerates my process. I've got much better websites much faster. But if you do want to sell that as a service, then there's options for that as well. So click the link below and just fill in your details there and you'll redirect straight to it. You may have seen in my popular one-page websites course that traditionally I will use a third-party plugin to take a prompt on what my website's actually going to be about, and it will then build a decent homepage from that with images, graphical elements. So we're not just talking about a wall of text. A wall of text absolutely does work. If I just open a new tab and search Pet Insurance NI. I can't believe I'm giving this away, but it's probably been time enough now. You can see we'll scroll down here and it's not at the top of page 1 anymore. It has been at the top of page 1. Currently at position 11, we can see I have a straightforward wall of text, all optimized, very simple one-page website. This was V1 of one-page websites. This is what inspired it. I had a huge portfolio of investment domains, and when ChatGPT came out, I thought, let's just put an optimized homepage on each one of these because time is such a major ranking factor. If we have an optimized homepage on there, you might find that in 6 months' time, you don't just have a portfolio of investment domains, some of those are likely to be getting traffic. So if we open up the Ahrefs Chrome extension, we can see there no domain rating, hardly any, and yet we're getting some decent traffic there. Only ranking for 8 keywords, but we're high enough for those 8 keywords that there's a notable level of traffic there. But of course, this isn't great from a UX and conversion standpoint. It's much better as the process has evolved, and indeed as the AI tools have evolved. If it takes no more effort to do a nice graphical layout, why not do that? But first things first, how do we create the content? That's number one. So I'm using Surfer SEO. What this does is it analyzes all the top 10 results for my particular keyword, and it produces a recipe based on everything that they're doing that we should be doing as well. So it's about the content length, it's about all the different keywords, and indeed topics and questions taken from people also ask. So I'm going to copy that now and head over to ChatGPT. I still use ChatGPT for the actual content writing because it seems to be better at actually implementing the Surfer recommendations. So if we just go up to my original prompt, you can see I just paste in all these Surfer recommendations. I basically mentioned we are this brand name, write a long form 2,000 word homepage using the following entities, the number of times indicated after /, and then I drop in all those requirements. So there under guidelines, where did I get 2,000 words from? Surfer has given us that as well, so 1,300 to 1,500 words. I said 2,000 for good measure. Now I'm going to go back and say answer the following with an NLP friendly paragraph for each, and that should be nice and simple. Now, like I say, just a matter of months ago, I would have used a third-party plugin. So when I was setting up the website, I would have gone through a few prompts and said, I want this category of website, I want this layout and these core pages. So contact, about us, homepage, that sort of thing. But today I'm going to be taking a different approach that's a bit more unique and a bit more tailored. And that is actually generating the page itself with AI to my custom requirements. So 6 months ago, I was building pages manually in Elementor like this. So this is my Ultimate Link Building Arsenal 2025 free giveaway. I'll leave a link to that below should you still want it. But now if I go to my local SEO Bible, you'll see I've got a much better landing page here. Just everything about it, the design, the copywriting, it just looks so much better. So you've got these really nice layouts, something that would take me a long time to actually drag and drop with Elementor. Now, I regard myself as a creative person. I studied history of art, and yet I am terrible at web design. It just doesn't work somehow. But as soon as I offload it to the AI can do a much better job than I can. So this is what we're actually going to be doing today. But first we need our optimized content. Do not overload the AI and try to get it to do everything at once. If I ask the AI to be a perfect copywriter, be a really good SEO and use all the relevant entities, and be a web designer, and give me that code, then it's all going to go wrong. So we want to take it step by step. So I'm going to copy our first bit of long form text. And first of all, put that into Surfer to verify that we're getting that high score that we want. We can see the average is 50, the top is 59. We're already beating that, we've got 73, and we haven't even got the right H1 heading at the top yet. Now let's go and grab those FAQs, because that's all really good content as well. So I copy that, head over to Surfer, paste those in at the bottom. We just need to fix those headings. I think heading 2 should be fine for that. You could use 3 if you wanted as a subsection of a general FAQ area, but I'm not too worried. You can see we've already got a really high score. Now Surfer is innovating all the time. They're always bringing out loads of new features, obviously trying to keep up in this race. So they do have their own AI writers and auto-optimize, but I actually like to use the legacy version. If we go over here and just click ... legacy variant, insert terms, and that's where Surfer itself will go through and try to add in as many of these as possible. So from that, we can normally squeeze out a couple of extra points there, but we're already really high up. 79 is really good, especially when the top result is only a 59. So not a huge amount to add here, but we can see down here, that's already got the score up to 82. So nice little benefit there. So that's our content ready to go. So I'm now going to copy all this. I'm now going to head over to Claude. Now I've now got Claude Max just because there are a load of benefits there for $100 a month, but you can absolutely do this just with the basic $15 a month Claude. And I'm just going to say, give me HTML that I can paste into a WordPress page for my homepage. I want this to be a nice, clean visual layout that a web designer would be proud of. Here is my text to include. And for now, just proof of concept, that should be all we need. But we are going to come back and add images. Now, images can be difficult because obviously the HTML can only reference those images where they're hosted on your website. So you need to upload those to your website first and then give the URLs to Claude so it can actually place them into the code. But for now, let's just see what Claude can do without. And honestly, I'm doing this all the time now. Just if there's maybe not the whole page I'm going to do like this, but maybe there's a specific element I want to change and I can't find that particular widget. It used to be I'm using Elementor, then I'd have to go and find some sort of open source Elementor extension and install that plugin in order to get another kind of widget with a specific functionality. Most recently, I was editing one of my SaaS tools and I wanted to provide a discount for an annual plan. And that's a very traditional SaaS model. You have your starter plan at $10 a month, $30 a month, whatever. But then for an annual plan, you give them 30, 40% off. And the way to do that for clean UX is, of course, you have that trigger at the top where you can switch between monthly and annual very easily. But as far as I could see, Elementor didn't really have quite the right solution for that as a drag and drop widget. So I just went into Claude, I gave it my existing source code for the existing pricing table, and I just said, I want this trigger and I want this kind of functionality. It took a bit of back and forth, but eventually we got there. And I'm no longer relying on a third-party plugin to actually provide that and tape that together with my existing Elementor setup. But now, here we go. This is actually looking really good, even without images. So you saw how long that took. Now I think the only issue here is it's completely changed the text. So the layout looks, please include my exact SEO text as provided, complete with paragraphs and headings. I need this for SEO purposes. Now before, when I was building websites this way and using that third-party plugin to design the layouts, it would of course inject little extra bits like our services, about our company, lots of little extra sections which weren't in the original Surfer draft, and it's just not a problem. Having more content like that is not really a major issue, especially when it's only 10 to 20% of your overall content length that you've written. So in this case, it's basically taken the context that we provided with, but then generated that layout with all those little snippets of text, which is great, but we also want that long form text at the bottom because that's how we feed the machine of Google, how Google actually understands what's on this page. Otherwise, we're just like all the other competitors where they paid $10,000 for this really nice website and they wanted it to look clean and smooth. They didn't want too much text, and therefore they don't rank very well because Google, the machine, can't really understand what this site is about. So with any luck, this will be finished in a minute. I was already really impressed by that layout, even without images, looked absolutely fantastic, but we just needed that SEO text. And this is what I tell everyone. If you're starting out in online business, if you've already got a website, the chances are your key pages aren't optimized. Maybe you're using a tool like Yoast or Rank Math and you just tried to use your main keyword 5 times throughout the text and you only included 500 words. As you can see from Surfer, you really need to think again. It's not just one keyword, it's all the relevant keywords and entities. And you want more like 1,000 to 2,000 words for most niches. There's a lot of speculation now that Google is preferring smaller websites that don't have thousands of words of text on a page. But even so, you look at the top 10 in Google and they are generally 1,000, 2,000 words long, not 500 words long. Because if you've only said 500 words, you've just not given enough context about who you are and what you do. And that's what Google is really trying to ascertain in terms of how good a recommendation you are for that particular search. So here we go. That's more like it. So we've got our long form text now. It doesn't look as good as it did before. I really like the FAQs here. So that actually does the job really well. But I'm actually going to go back one more time and say I actually really liked the visual layout, the 4 with the emojis and graphical elements. Please include those in addition to my long form SEO text. Now again, we're always going to come back and edit this. We're going to want call to action buttons. And you might think, if I'm not using Elementor anymore, how am I going to edit all this code? Now, yes, you can go into the HTML and manually tweak bits, but for me as a non-coder, it's much easier just to copy all that text, open a new Claude chat, go into Claude, and then say, I want to link to this and include the call to action button 3 times on the page, something like that. Obviously, there's a lot of hype at the moment around vibe coding, and rightly so. It's really exciting stuff. Generally, I think it's a bit of a shiny object that you can enter in a prompt and it'll just build your full back end and front end. Generally, I'm not seeing anyone build anything too impressive with it. Whereas what I really like this is we're just building on our existing principles, sales and marketing, SEO. We're just making it faster and easier. But you can see there's a lot of refinement here. It's not just one prompt and done. We've used AI to create really good SEO content, and now we're doing various iterations to get the AI to produce a really good homepage. But it's still a long way from simply entering a prompt and letting it go. So thankfully, I think that's hope for all of us that we're not going to be replaced too soon, because even though this is really speeding up the process, we're still going back and forth over and over again. And I think to actually take the human out of that, the quality is just not going to be there for a while. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but I'm a lot more hopeful than I used to be. I think the idea of one prompt that fixes everything for us is still some way off. And don't forget, if you are vibe coding, if you're using Lovable Bolt, be careful with indexing. I think it's Lovable where it's been brought to people's attention that if you build a front-end website, very often they're not crawlable and indexable by Google. So be sure to check that. So this is still going. You can see it just goes on and on, but what a gift, the fact that you can just, here we go, there it's finished. The fact it's got all this training data already about what we want. Now let's see. Yep, this is looking really good. Nice tiles. It's broken up the SEO text, but it's kept it visual. That's not great, dark text on a dark background, but it'll do for now. It's still indexable. Everything I say on one-page websites is get the site ranking, then improve it, because there's no point trying to make your site perfect if no one's actually visiting it yet. But this all looks really good. So next step, I'm just going to copy all this back into Surfer to make sure we've still got that high score. We haven't broken it with all these edits. But I very much doubt it, because that core content that's optimized has been preserved. There we go, 82. In fact, it's exactly the same as we left it, just with a lot more graphical elements. So I can just come up here and copy the full HTML. So now the moment of truth is, how difficult is it to simply drop this into a page? Bear in mind, we've still got headers and footers, that sort of thing. Just install free Elementor. I was playing around with actually editing WordPress and templates, things like that. Much easier, just install free Elementor, click on the gear to go to post settings, and then we come down here and select Elementor Canvas, and you can do that with the free Elementor, and that just takes out all the other elements from the theme. So now we add element, HTML block, drag that in there, and then we can paste in our homepage like that. So if I now get rid of Elementor, that's looking pretty clean. So now let's hit publish. Now we go to our homepage. Of course, we need to set the page as the homepage. So for that, I've gone back into Cadence, I've hit customize, homepage settings. We want the homepage to be a static page, and we can select our Elementor page here, and there we go. Shame about the color defaulting like that, but that's fine for now. So let's now go and visit that, and look at that, all sorted in no time at all. This is a really decent bit of web design without having to rely on a template that everyone else has got. So let's now fix that black text. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. I head back over to Claude and say, you just troubleshoot. The title text is defaulting to black. Paste in the screenshot so Claude can analyze that and gets the full context. I'm just going to come back and say that basically within the theme settings and the code, we've just gone for the default rather than saying we need this to be white. So really simple fix there. So now if I copy that, hopefully this should sort itself out. Edit page, or rather edit with Elementor, because we're no longer using the WordPress editor. We just select that HTML, double click over here, and this is the same for any other edits you make. And there we go. Let's see if that holds up on the front end. So if you are adding in buttons, adding in images, just copy the code, go back into Claude, and it will insert that for you. And there we go, that text is now holding in white. You can see we've even got these nice little movements and graphics. So much easier than building your website from scratch. All that's left to do now then is actually copy our URL and head into Omega Index. The site is already indexed, but let's face it, we've made a load of changes. We want to get the benefit of those changes as soon as possible. So many people are making changes to their website or they're building backlinks, and Google just hasn't picked it up yet. In fact, Google's got incredibly stingy with crawling websites lately, and who can blame it? There's so much AI content flooding the internet that Google's really having to prioritize what actually goes into the index, because there's a cost of indexing and storing that data. So we need to take matters into our own and get that manually indexed. So we just copy and paste the link in there, and that's now running. We will see once that has been basically submitted and the indexing forced with Google, and then we'll get the full credit of having done all this on page. Bear in mind, this was just a dead domain before. So then we should get a really big impact just from getting the on page right. And we know we've got it right because we were using Surfer. Now, next up, we need to get some backlinks into the site. You've obviously heard about this before, and it can sound quite intimidating, but the first links you build don't need to be that complicated. First, we need some citations, and these are just listings in local business directories. Not hugely powerful, but if you build a couple of hundred of them, It doesn't cost you very much, and there's still a lot of benefit there. I've ranked sites like this just using citations and a press release. So for that, I'll just go onto Legit and pay someone somewhere between $10 and $50 to do 100 or so citations. After that, we'll do a press release. And again, not the most valuable links in the world, but that's where you can basically write an optimized guest post, if you like, that's contextually relevant to what you're talking about. So it ticks all those surfer criteria and gets that distributed to something like 400 news websites. And each one of those then link back to your site. Not the most powerful links in the world, still no follow, obviously duplicated content. But again, you're just building this brand footprint that you've got your business directories, you've got your press release, it all helps, it all adds up. And because I buy in bulk, I'm able to get that press release for just $7. But even if you don't buy in bulk, don't expect to pay more than $50 to $100 for that press release. Now, if you do those 3 steps, after you've done the on-page, you've designed your website, you've done your indexing, you've done your citations, and you've done your press release, and you've got all of those indexed, then you can literally get page 1 rankings within a couple of days. I have seen this myself. And I've had loads of feedback from my core students saying the exact same thing. They put the site live and the next day they're ranking on page 1. If that sounds good to you and you want to turbocharge your link building through these kinds of cheap foundations that are really effective, so I'm talking about my citation provider, my press release provider, and a load of other great resources, then click the link below. I've got a free SOP for you. It includes citations, press releases, my whole link screening system for when we're conducting outreach, the exact thing we use in the agency to make sure we're only building high quality backlinks that actually improve your rankings and sales, and a very simple tool that allows you to actually swap and exchange backlinks with relevant businesses. So again, absolutely free, fill in your details below and I'll send it to you.